Hello, my name is Chandra, and today I am making this beautiful banana upside down cake. I'm going to start with the caramel on top. I'm using coconut sugar. You could use regular sugar. The recipe actually calls for regular sugar, but I try to use coconut sugar whenever I can in place of refined sugar. So I'm just getting this over some medium heat, and I'm stirring it quite frequently. In the meantime, while that's getting going, I'm going to put some coconut oil on this pan. In retrospect, I did not need to oil this pan. I was being safe, and I even put a little bit of parchment paper on it. I didn't want things to stick, but this pan is very non-stick, and I would have gotten, I think, more caramel to come out when I flipped it upside down if it had not been lined at all. The coconut oil probably didn't get in the way, but the paper was a little bit. So now my sugar is starting to melt for my caramel, and I'm taking some coconut milk, which is in lieu of heavy cream in this recipe. I'm trying to not add any dairy into this, so I'm warming that up. I think that helps with the whole thing not seizing up quite as much. Mine did seize up quite a bit, but I was able to just keep it over heat and loosen those hardened caramel bits back up again, and then it loosened up the rest of the way in the baking process. So I'm just kind of showing you this as it's getting more and more melty. Now, if you're using refined sugar, you would cook this until it got that nice caramelly color. This is already the right color. I just kind of cooked it as long as I felt like I wanted to until it was nice and liquidy. And it's looking good now, so I can start to think about adding my coconut milk in. This is a loopy whisk recipe. I love her recipes. This is from her cookbook, her newest cookbook, The Elements of Baking. She has a lot of recipes online too, and I have had such great success with them. There's a couple other gluten-free books I have my eye on, but at the moment, other authors, at the moment, I'm really loving the loopy whisk. So you should check out her website if you have not seen that. And I've bought both of her books and have loved both of them. So here you can see it kind of seized up, and there's some hardened bits of caramel, but now it is softening very nicely. So I'm going to add vanilla extract, get that mixed up, and then get it into the bottom of my pan. Now, the recipe did not call for salt at this stage, but I thought, how can there be caramel without some salt? So I'm just putting a pinch into my caramel. You're about to see why I regret using the parchment paper. It is so difficult to spread this around because it was starting to kind of stiffen up. And if this had just been on that coconut oiled pan, it would have spread out so easily, and it wouldn't have needed to be covering the whole thing because it would have melted later. So I can't wait to make this again and do it without the parchment paper. It did come out beautifully anyway, but it will be easier, I think, if I can do this again without the paper. If I look like I really know what I'm doing when I'm slicing these bananas, it's because I do it a lot. When we have a lot of bananas, and sometimes I buy a lot of bananas and let them get ripe, like too many bananas for us to eat fresh. I slice them like this and dehydrate them in our dehydrator. They are so good. And Nora here eats 2 of these. I'm allowed to have 2 halves a day, which is like 1 banana. And she will often get up in the morning and have that first thing as a quick, just waking up snack. I forgot I was recording when I mixed up the wet ingredients, but there they are on the left, and that is more mashed banana yogurt, more coconut sugar, some oil, both some avocado oil, and this recipe called for butter. I used coconut oil. It needed to be melted. So I wanted to have a solid at room temperature fat like butter, but I wanted to substitute with coconut oil. Now, when you substitute an oil for butter. Coconut oil is 100% fat. Butter is only 80% fat, so I used 80% of the amount of butter in coconut oil. And that makes a big difference to know that. And there's also eggs and vanilla in there. Now I'm getting my dry ingredients measured out into a separate bowl. So that has my gluten-free flour that I mix myself, baking powder, xanthan gum. You can also sub guar gum, salt, and cinnamon. So I'm going to get that all whisked together. I'm just getting everything through this little sieve in case there's any clumps, especially in my baking powder because I make that myself and I don't add anything for anti-caking. So I just put it through this little sieve and then I'm going to combine all these things together, mix them up really well. And this is my favorite part about a gluten-free recipe is that you don't need to worry about overmixing because there's no gluten to overdevelop. So you can just go to town and really get all the lumps out. And it's a very low stress activity. So I'm going to do that and then I'm going to pour it into my cake pan that has the bananas and the caramel and get it in the oven for about 45 minutes. So obviously I can't give you this recipe because it is out of a cookbook that I bought. And it's definitely a cookbook worth buying. But if you wanted to make this, I think you could look at a caramel recipe and a banana bread recipe and just combine the two, ones that you like. It was really good. It was totally worth making. And I think it's very customizable that way. You could just combine a couple different things and make this recipe up all for yourself. Here it is, still warm from the oven. We had this for dessert, and it was so yummy. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate it. See you next time.